Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Over the course of the next 60-odd minutes, we're going to be discussing what happened to the Cleveland Browns and what needs to be done about it, and short of an execution, public execution, a tar and feathering, or forcing Deathwish into... For those who don't know, if you missed the post-game show... the new nickname, I will not refer to him by his regular name, Deathwish Kitchens, is his name, and losing is his game, and refusing to yield in the face of criticism is also his new modus operandi. So either execution, tar and feathering, or forcing him into a Peter North video and allowing him to be anally intruded. One of those three things are basically the choices with Deathwish Kitchens.
That's got to be the earliest ass rape reference on record. Well done.
You broke the 4-minute ass rape. Hey!
Get that ass rape in early.
So here we go to start this show. I am going to give you more illustrations of why Deathwish Kitchens has to be terminated. Because I'm going to give you two right off the bat. Okay? The first one we brought up yesterday, as everybody now has in the press, which was turning a 4th down and 11 into a 4th down and 16, and getting your quarterback sacked and all of that happy horseshit. And when asked after the game why he did it, he said, well, we needed, that timeout. So it was either take the penalty and stop the clock or use the timeout. Yet, when I got to thinking about that overnight, it was like, you know something? He gave up 2 timeouts with replay challenges that had absolutely no chance to succeed. So, if the timeouts are so important, why would you use the replay challenges when everybody in the stadium knew? Everyone in the stadium knew. I'm going to put Steven into the mix here. Everybody in the stadium, everyone at home watching, knew there was zero chance of overturning either of those and just giving away those timeouts. Why would you do that if you wanted to have timeouts in the end of the game? That's the first thing. But the next one is the coup de grace. All right? This is the reason why Freddie's ass should become home for an anal probe like Peter North's penis. Okay? I hope I'm being clear about this. Today's press conference, it depends when you talk to somebody like this exactly what they're going to say. And what comes out of Deathwish's mouth this time is absolute proof of what I've been saying for the better part of a month. Probably 3 weeks now. On electing to take a penalty on 4th down in the 4th quarter with the punt team on the field and then going for it on 4th down. Here's Freddie's quote. Sometimes in the course of action with punt teams, sometimes they are used to when you were at your own 25 or whatever we were, just 4th and 11, and they're running out on the field. The buck stops with me. I should not have let that happen. But once the punt team was out there were 2 choices. Use your last timeout or take a penalty, and I decided to take a penalty. So, let me explain to you. The punt team ran out onto the field of their own volition without the coach sending them out on the field.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Now, you were wondering, how could it possibly get worse, you're asking? So you have a guy who just does not have control over anything or anybody, who's incapable of being a head coach. And I really want to put this in a different perspective because, there's an article, that maybe some of the criticism of Freddie Kitchens or Deathwish is going too far. And I want to point out...
Who wrote that? Shame, whoever that is.
I don't know how to pronounce the name. Doug Lesmerisis. I don't know.
Oh,
Les
Les Maurice.
Miserables.
Yeah, Doug the
I just call
heartbreak of psoriasis. Is that it?
I just call him less is more,
Yeah,
Les
well,
Miserables.
or more or less.
well,
Well, I said. That's what he should have said when they kicked the field goal. You sure we're going to kick a field goal on 4th and 6? I mean, we're still going to be down 2 scores. Well, I reckon I said.
all right. Well, and I'm looking at this article, and I don't want to go over what Doug Les Miserables said.
Yeah.
I'm not caring about that. What I want to say about Freddie Kitchens is this: if most of the people here are working people. I mean, or were, and I remember when I was a young guy. And I took a job in Jackson, Tennessee, to be a general manager of a radio station because I needed that on my resume. And I thought I could do the job. I think anybody who gets offered a position that, is good for them will accept the position. And Freddie Kitchens in no way was qualified to be a head coach, but that's not for Freddie Kitchens to say Freddie Kitchens got hired. He interviewed, he got hired, he took the job. It's guaranteed money, it's good pay, better pay than he would ever make doing anything else in his life. And if in the chance that he succeeded, he would he could get out of Cleveland and become a head coach somewhere else eventually.
Isn't that kind of like anybody that takes the job in Cleveland? It's like, well, nobody else will take it. At least I'm going to get paid. And then if worse comes to worse, I can audition for another role somewhere else.
If I can be the one to turn this around, hey, this makes me, be able to pick my shot the next time. So when my contract expires, somebody else can hire me. I can get out of this, flaming rot of an organization. And yes, it makes total sense. So I don't blame Freddie for being the head coach. All right. And here's the problem that we have and why we're at a standstill with this is we're not really talking about Freddie when we're talking about firing Freddie because, he's not going to fire himself. The problem is Haslam. Because Haslam would have to acknowledge that he made a bad decision again. And I don't think that that's in the cards. And he wants to wait and see if there's a second half turnaround in this team so he can save face. And that's what this is all about.
And Mr. Muhead, do you think Jimmy Haslam being the con man that he is? I mean, I know we talk about the owner and the head coach all the time, but if you're a guy that takes that position, you're working for a con man like Jimmy, doesn't it kind of rub off on the organization though?
No, I think that anybody takes that job. I think a guy who was just starting out being an offensive coordinator, it was like a wet dream. Are you kidding? Yeah, you take the job. I'm not blaming, the fact that Kitchens is not qualified and doesn't have the ability to be a head coach, let alone to be a head coach in the spotlight of all this talent acquisition and then being on primetime television and having the number one announcers and laying a golden turd every time you're on Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, whenever you're on the national telecast, whatever the case may be. This is just an indication that he shouldn't be the head coach. It's up to the owner to sit back and say, look, and it's not Dorsey's responsibility either. The owner's the one who hired the guy and signed off on it. He has to be the one to decide that he's not the right guy.
Right.
So, we're waiting for Jimmy Haslam, and Jimmy Haslam basically, I'm turning this over to knowledgeable people, and he's the one who wanted to hire this guy. So...
But he also runs the Browns like he runs his truck stop, though, Yeah. Well,
except the difference is the truck stops have prostitutes, and he himself is a prostitute. But that is neither here nor there. So, Doug Les Miserables, whatever, the criticism I have of Freddie is not that he is the head coach. It is the realization that he's not qualified or ready to be a head coach. And the unfortunate part of it is that this will derail his career, and I call him Deathwish because he is totally destroying his own career with the things that he's saying and doing right now because he's so inexperienced and he has that Harry High School, I went to Alabama, boola boola, I once had a sexual fantasy about Bear Bryant kind of thing going on. You never give up, and the fact of the matter is that sometimes you have to take a step back. All right, if it's Jimmy Valvano telling me, don't give up, never give up, then I get it. Okay. I mean, the fight against cancer is the fight against cancer. But your qualification is to do a job. Sometimes you got to take a step back and say, bit off more than I could chew. Can you blame me for taking the job? But, I think that I should get back more into what my comfort zone is. But that's not what Freddie's doing. In fact, he's doing what everybody does now. Just like when people, when Donald Trump thinks that Colorado borders Mexico, you don't hear his followers say anything about that because he's a stupid fucker. If Barack Obama had said that, he'd be a, quote, dumb N-bomb. Okay? That's the truth. The very people who protect on one front will criticize on another front.
Preach.
The thing with Freddie Kitchens is that he's going down the road where he's painted himself into this corner and he can't get out. So now,
kind of like Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, and you're not going to get me talking about her because I wouldn't vote for her in a million years any more than I vote for you.
4,000 Native American, y'all give.
I would never
on that name.
I would never vote for anybody who is related to Trump. I would never listen to advice from somebody who voted for Trump. That's just the bottom line. I'll vote for who the fuck I want to vote for.
Hey, Mr. Roy, can I ask you, what's the difference between when Freddie Kitchens first took over the Browns and had that small success versus now?
Yeah, as long as they have a red star behind their name, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, again, the difference between the teams are Freddie already had an offense in place that he was familiar with, and he pick and chose what the best plays were to run off of somebody else's offense. And the fact that the wrong plays were being called and that nobody really believed in the existing offensive coordinator. So there was kind of a good feeling there, and he kind of took people by surprise. And maybe if he had the opportunity to continue polishing that offense, it would have been a better thing. Instead, the organization wanted to bring in Monken. And, which in and of itself is kind of an odd thing the more I think about it, because it's like, if you're really turning over the reins to Freddie Kitchens and you're saying, hey, you're the man, but, oh, by the way, this is the offensive coordinator we've hired for you. And don't believe Deathwish. He did not hire Monken. It doesn't jive with what Kitchens was wanting to do offensively. This is, again, the sign of Haslam deciding this, Dorsey deciding that, and then, we have a backup head coach, so Wilkes gets a job. So when the interim coach time comes, we can always go to the Greg Williams thing. And we can do something, we can remind the world that Sashi Brown was fired, but now we'll have a black interim coach to take care of the Hughes situation and everything that goes down with political decisions instead of smart business decisions. So right off the bat, this whole thing sounds disjointed to me. He is saying that, Deathwish, that he should have communicated better and telling the punt team not to run out on the field. But how could he do that when he's juggling 6 things? The fact is he's overloaded. He's bogged down. But once again, they really got on him about his role, okay? And, and I will give you the exact quote here. If the 4th and 11 penalty is assigned, he may have too much on his plate as head coach and offensive play caller, and he may need to adjust play calling responsibilities. His answer, no, it is not happening. I am calling the plays. I am the head coach. That is not happening. Now, wait a minute. They asked him, is too much on your plate, and should you delegate? His response is, I am the head coach. Who was the last guy who said that?
Hugh Jackson.
That's correct. That was his response to everything.
Exactly. I mean, can I make a comment about Monken?
Sure.
He seems like a very wet noodle to me. I mean, if you listen to his interviews, he doesn't come across very well. He doesn't come across as incredibly knowledgeable, and he comes across very subservient. At least the interviews during the August and early September. Maybe he can't call plays. I mean, you had him in Tampa Bay. Maybe you have more of an idea about him than I do or we do, but he doesn't impress me at all. So I can't see any improvement happening if Monken suddenly did decide to call plays. What fucking plays would he call? The same shit ones that they already have.
Well, I mean, I guess the only thing I can tell you is that if Freddie were to get fired and his death wish were to come true, then you'd have to have an offensive coordinator who's familiar with the playbook, which you would have, and you'd have a guy who'd previously been a head coach in Wilkes.
Yeah.
So again, all of this seems like it's all too much of a coinky-dink that these pieces are in place for exactly what Deathwish is looking for, which is the end of Deathwish's term.
I mean, maybe Monken is some sort of insurance policy if Kitchens flamed out. I mean, when they hired him, which is exactly what he's doing. But I don't see him as much of a. I would be shocked if he ended up being the next head coach here. I would be flabbergasted. I mean, I think Wilkes is far more. He just comes across better, and the defense is better.
Yeah, but I agreed with you, Mr. Moohead. No retreads and no one-year head coaches, no college coaches, unless like Lincoln Riley or something like that.
Well, with the talent they have now, they should be able to attract decent prospects now. Back when Hugh Jackson was hired, there was shit in the cupboard, and there was shit on the floor, and there was shit in the fucking dishwasher. There was nothing. Now that there's talent here,
and so they got the shit straight out of the toilet.
Yeah, some talent. Now that there's talent, it's going to attract a coach that can actually coach. So I think.
You know something? This is not good. This is not good. If you're going to make references to Melania Trump this way, what kind of a thing is that to say about her? Jeez.
Yeah, sorry, I thought that was done with two E's at the end.
Yeah, my goodness. Yeah, country, yeah. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Moohead, I don't want to switch topics on you. I'm going to the Rockets game tonight against the Thunder.
Oh, God.
And the Thunder spanked the Warriors by 40. And Seth Curry's doing this again.
Yeah, meanwhile, Harden's bouncing the ball back in his face.
He looks like Kyle Korver in that silent screen paint, and Mr. Moohead was talking about. I love it.
It's a choice of losing the country or losing football games. Yeah, we're really gaining. It's not even worth it. It's not even worth it, is it? Winning is not enough for these people. Not at all. They just have to do whatever they have to do. And
you want to bring up Melania Trump and Donald Trump, so
I didn't bring it up. The guy called her a cunt right on my screen. The country has never been better. Ooh. But what would I expect from a Trumper? Colorado and Mexico, misspelling country, it's like, what do you expect?
Hey, Mr.
Undereducated. Okay,
hey,
next. Yeah.
You talked about how you didn't want to retread as a head coach, like a Mike Holmgren to come back, or you're done with those guys. And you talked about you didn't want a one-year guy. If you could pick your own head coach, Who would you have here?
Well, let me explain the Holmgren thing. I just don't want somebody who is embalmed. I mean, Holmgren didn't really want to be on the field as a coach. Let's be clear about that.
Not tall. He was
And to ride around with a golf cart. That's what he did.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him have the golf cart on the sidelines.
So that's the,
And those are only the days when he had bothered to fucking show up at all.
At this point, I would rather have somebody who has experience at the job than, I would even take McCarthy right now.
Oh, God.
No. Somebody who at least, he has an idea of how to run a football team because he did it for several years. Right now, there's no control over the players, and we're seeing the absolute worst of all of these players. We really are. We're seeing the absolute worst.
Major underachieving going on here.
Yeah. I still want to see Mike Holmgren come back and say, don't ask me for playoff tickets this time. And I'm going to say, well, what happened the last time when you said that?
Are you trying to fix your sister up with Steven? That is gross. That is totally gross. I'm sorry. And no, I'm not even sure Dorsey can be the GM because right now he knows a shit show when he sees one. And we'll talk about Gennard Avery now. I mean, you want to talk about this total disengagement of people. I mean, so Wilkes was saying how big an impact he was going to make if he was active, and he played 3 snaps against the Patriots and gets traded.
Well, just the biggest impact of the year, getting traded for like a late round pick.
I mean, so you have a defensive coordinator who's saying this guy can make a big impact, and the front office saying, trade him. I mean,
how impactful he is.
Nobody agrees with anyone.
As bad as Cleveland played yesterday, they still had plenty of chances to win that game. The game was still fairly close for most of the game.
It's an indication of 2 things. One, the defense was prepared, all right, because they were given short fields to work with, but for the most part, they were in the right alignments and did the right things. And they gave up a bad screen pass that, again, if you look at the films, you'll see that it was once again our friend Joe Schobert who took the wrong angle and got wiped out on the play. But still, they did well enough to win the game defensively.
I mean, New England did not have a sustained drive. By what I mean like that, more than 6 plays, 80 yards for a touchdown. They had the odd drives with the big plays of the short fields, but they did not ram the ball down our throats repeatedly. We stopped them after 2 or 3 series.
Wait a minute. I got to bring this up. He keeps forgetting he was the coach of the Browns. He keeps forgetting. Yeah. You've never heard Roxanne. Wait a minute. You got to do your Michael McDonald. I forgot about that. Here we go.
I keep forgetting we're not in love anymore. I keep forgetting things will never be the same again. Hey.
It's more in tune than Michael, I have to say.
Hey, if she can do Michael McDonald, she can also sing Yazoo.
She can sing out the Yazoo.
Let's bring in Marty Schottenheimer, who had.
Yeah, except for the fact that Marty's almost dead and could never win the big game.
No, it's a sad thing, and it's we're gonna have to make do with Deathwish for as long as
He'll be around for the end of the year. I mean,
he will be because again, Haslam is, and what Haslam will do is he'll use it to seize control of the organization again. It'll be Dorsey who's shit out of luck because of this. You
think Dorsey will end up running for the fences?
No.
Don't say no. Never say never. Never say never. I could see that happening, yes, because it's a shit show. And if you don't have control of things, and I don't know what the deal is with Gennard Avery. I mean, he had 4.5 sacks last year, and he looked pretty good when he was on the field, and he never got on the field this year. So what does it all mean? And the defensive coordinator said he should be on the field.
That happened pretty early on because he was playing like nothing in preseason. He was like the 3rd string, 4th string captain in the 4th quarter of the preseason games, and that's when he showed up. When Burris and all the other lot were playing, he would trot out there too. So,
Okay, here we go. I got another thing for the press conference. And this is the kind of thing, and I want to find this quickly.
I like Chud. I'd have Chud back as head coach.
Why is Antonio Callaway getting more playing time than Rashard Higgins? Here's Deathwish's answer. We feel like he's doing better right now. How can you say that? The other guy hasn't played. And what has Callaway done? Hig has been back 2 weeks. Contrary to popular belief, Higgins was not ready to play 3 weeks ago. Deathwish said, ask Higgins about 2 weeks ago. He may have a different answer now. I'm not answering questions about playing time. We are playing who we think is giving us the best chance to win right now. You're not winning, you dumb fuck. Deathwish. Commodore Matt Decker. I should have died with my crew. Yeah, what?
I give advice to Kitchens, like, don't bother having press conferences, because whatever you say will be used against you. You know, there's no point in having a press conference now.
Yeah. Sounds like I need to go back and look at the tapes.
All you need
come out of the Sashi Brown stable, and therefore Kitchens don't want to have anything to do with him. I mean, he got targeted once, had one catch yesterday. That was it.
But you know what's the terrible thing here? Is that
Terrible.
the terrible part of this is that Jannard Avery is a linebacker. He's not a defensive end. They made him change positions into a hybrid. It's not what he does. He's going to go to the Eagles. He is going to get some reps as a linebacker for the Eagles in, I'm sure, third down pass situations. And let's see how he does. All
He's
right?
going to go to playoffs, too. God bless him. So he'll be playing in January.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's a sad situation.
How sad is
It's getting more and more absurd.
So sad. So sad. Why can't we talk this over?
It's a sad
It's almost
situation.
Democratic debate bad.
we need a Chudzinski impression here. You know, let's bring back Chud.
I don't even want to bring back Chud. I mean, I don't want to bring back anything. I mean, at this point, it's like
Let's
looking
bring back
backwards
Wetzel.
doesn't do anything to look backwards. It just doesn't. At this point, well, you either move forward or you just give up.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I hope
by
Jimmy
now,
Haslam never does a Browns reunion. I hate for all these old coaches to show up.
by now we've had every single type of possible bad coach that you could possibly have. We had Mangenius, we had Cornell, we had Palmer, we've had Butch Davis, we've had Mike Patton, we've had Pat Shermer, we've had Hugh Jackson, and we've had
Mike Patine.
Yeah,
Patton.
Patton.
He-
And,
now he got himself a zoo, a petting zoo, so he's
Patton,
gonna for kids.
and they were all different. They were all differently bad in their own special way.
Hey,
Yeah,
Brock, we'll do a reunion one day and bring them all back to 20-year anniversary.
And look at D-Bag. He's saying, remember wide receiver Michael Jackson? He's out of our
Bad.
lives.
Bad.
He's out of our lives. Thank you.
Yeah.
It is. Everyone's depressed. Everyone is.
Hey, D-Back says he's dressing up as Freddie Kitchens, so I'll be Jimmy Haslam for Halloween.
Yeah. Go ahead. Did you give your name, Rick?
What, Larry the Cable Guy? Change his name to Larry the Unstable Guy.
There you go.
That's what he looks like. He's flying. By the way, that's not an offensive play chart he's holding. That's a Denny's menu. I'll bet you.
With a pronghorn, leghorn like mentality.
I'll have the moons over my hammy.
D-Bag, you gotta
I
get,
say separate checks, please.
hey, D-Bag, you got to get a number 9 Alabama jersey and cut the sleeves off of it and then cut a big V-neck in it so it'll actually fit your rotund body.
Yeah, and thank you, D-Bag. I think we're underrated too. But then again, I mean, maybe I've earned it after 15 years.
I don't know. I think the 10 people who watch this program are are hardly graded. So,
And to answer Greg Smith's question, does a win over Denver change our opinion of Kitchens, and even in the slightest? The answer is no. They're playing. They're not even playing their first string quarterback. So they're playing a guy who's never played a snap in the NFL ever.
And they're still going to lose.
Yeah, that bodes badly. We always get beat by these like
They said Cleveland's schedule is supposed to be getting easier after this, and I'm like, I see Pittsburgh, who's actually playing kind of better. I see the Ravens still on the schedule. I'm like, I see Denver, who's still kind of almost evenly matched. I'm like, these aren't easy wins.
The Cardinals.
These are not easy wins.
Last week.
Well, I mean, and not only that, we're going to be Tommy Maddox. That guy was selling life insurance, you know? Hey, he was going, like, when he was calling audibles going, whole life, term, set, hut, you know?
Plus, you also got to play Buffalo, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was giving the defensive line financial advice.
Who is CBD, by the way?
Cleveland Browns Daily.
The Browns Daily guys. I don't want to say anything bad about them. They put on a nice program, but I mean, they're
but it gets super saturated with a bunch of douchebags.
They're organizational people. They're organizational people, and again, look, if somebody were really
they have their pom-poms
giving me access to things, of course, the cow bites the hand that feeds it. You know that, but I can understand where people would do that.
Elbow, whatever.
It's a quid pro quo world, folks. And that's the way it works. And, I don't begrudge them doing what they do. But what we do here, I got nothing to lose.
That's a kept secret.
Omaha! Oh, my God. Sounds like a Moby Grape song. Now we're really getting...
There we go.
Wow.
Hippy-dippy on you here. I'm showing my age.
So, Mr. Moohead, where do you see the Browns finishing after this year? Like 5-11, 6-10, 7-9?
I see him finishing the season about the 29th of December. And no farther.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're going to get to play... Flacco, by the way, criticized the offensive coordinator.
I saw that.
And then his neck is suddenly bad.
He probably got beat up in the washroom.
I think this was misreported. He's not.
Maybe he got the Vulcan neck pinch.
No, they missed. They said it's a herniated disc in his neck. All right. No, it's that he is a pain in the neck. All right. That was just misquoted by the press. Brandon Allen claimed off waivers September 1st from the Rams. Will start. Bronx coach Vic Fangio said Monday, that's a great name for a gangster.
Don't go
Vic
to the
Fangio.
toll booth, Sonny. Don't go to the toll booth.
Or, it's also a great name for a nightclub singer. You're no one till somebody loves you. Vic Fangio!
Vic the Overbite.
White man's overbite. Maybe Drew Lock, the rookie, will be activated from injured reserve to be Allen's backup.
Wow. Jesus Christ. Well, you gotta admit, old Horseface knows how to pick quarterbacks, doesn't he?
But it's in a place where the Browns never win, just like New England is a place the Browns never win. And the truth is that Mile High Stadium is a bad place for us historically. So
we won last year there, though, but that was an exception.
I do like
lack of oxygen going to Kitchen's head next week.
You want to hear an extended metaphor?
Yes.
I get the comment about this is what McAfee on ESPN said. It seems like this might be a little cliche, might be getting a little hot in the kitchens for Freddie Kitchens. Please don't go there. But then, extended metaphor, he says, they're like the Titanic. Everybody thought they were unsinkable. They've crashed into every single iceberg you could potentially find. And if they're going to let Freddie Kitchens play the music all the way down to the bottom of the ocean while Jack and Rose are floating on that damn board, that's a bad decision for the dog pound. And I got one more thing that I can say about that.
Just one more thing.
What would be my extended metaphor? I want to get this right.
Is this a multiple choice question?
No, I want to make sure I get this right. Because I don't want to get a name wrong, you know?
Oh man, it's another essay question. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Freddie Kitchens looks like Kathy Bates, okay? Look, if you want the extended metaphor of Titanic, I knew her last name was Bates, but I really wanted to, I was trying to think of her because when she tied up James Caan and beat him, Freddie kind of
misery.
Except he is sinkable.
Not the
He's
state, mind you.
Deathwish. Yeah, so we have a chance to win next week. Yeah, but that's the best cliche. That's the best cliche. The Kitchens comment and the extended metaphor. You know. And then Rex Ryan had this to say:
I want somebody's foot. I want a foot in my mouth. Let me lick. I want to lick between your toes.
Okay, but after he was done saying that, any coach in the league would kill for this talent. Hell, Ray Caruth would kill for this talent.
Hey, but Mr. Moonhead, just for the record, people used to like playing for Rex Ryan when he was a Jets head coach. All the players liked him.
Stop it.
They all said they liked playing for him.
Maybe because he always bought the beer.
So here's what Rex, who should know, said. You might be the most talented team in the NFL and you're 2-5. So who's going down? I promise you, he's going down. If they're not going to fire the players, they're going to fire the coach. They, in essence, fired Jannard Avery and Rashard Higgins. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so right now it's the players who are getting it in the butt, not Freddie. But, you know, Rex knows when it's time to move on someone because his whole family was moved on countless times. As a matter of fact, every time, did you think it was funny that every time Orion, after Buddy was gone out of the game, that the two brothers, every time they took a job, they had this, how would I put it, endorsement from United Van Lines? I mean, I thought that, you know, it's like instantly movable, Rex Ryan said, where am I, New York, Buffalo, where in the fuck am I? I
They
mean,
are worse than the Harbaughs.
Wasn't his brother like defensive coordinator for the Cowboys and the Saints?
yeah,
And the Browns.
Yes.
Ryan was the defensive coordinator on the Browns when they
Oh.
went 10-6.
yeah, he of the flowing mane.
Ooh, bring him back.
Oh, fuck. Make it stop. God damn it.
Hey, Roxanne.
Yes.
You know, what Rob Ryan, Rex's brother, looked like Thor.
He did.
You're Thor.
With his hammer.
You're Thor. I'm Thor.
He looked like an older Scottish hammer, didn't he?
Oh,
Hey, Mr. Bluehead, do you see
Yes.
the Patriots running the table? Like, do you see them going undefeated, or do you see them?
I see him running across the table to get an extra helping of fried chicken. What kind of,
They'll lose the last game because they won't play any of their starters and they won't pay the referees, so they'll lose the last game they play.
you know, I'm always up to blaming Art Modell. Let's do that for a while.
Time for a
We
change
never
of
really talked
pace.
about our Modell.
I'm going to leave that up there. What the hell?
Years ago now.
Oh,
Shout
my
out to Roy
God.
Ransdell.
How about this great quote by Deathwish? I don't coach penalties. We beat ourselves. No, you coach players who commit penalties nonstop.
Yeah, we beat ourselves, all right.
Yeah. You do realize that this coming weekend is the end of daylight savings time. You know what that means? Deathwish has an extra hour to prepare.
Ooh, look out.
We already had that here. We already had it.
He might change his mind 4 more times.
You're-
Hey,
Any hope?
here's
what Baker Mayfield said. He said, when I'm down and out is when I get the most pissed off." He said
Oh,
that's quarter.
Oh boy.
well.
He said, "When I'm pissed off is when I play the best."
Wow.
Terry Pluto, in his article, scribbles in my notebook after this loss.
Oh, is he
Why are
talking to
these?
himself again?
Yes, why are these pages stuck together in my notebook?
Scribbles in my notebook, teeth marks on my. Well, never mind.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Platypus doesn't have teeth, though.
scribbles rhymes with nibbles. I got no idea Terry Pluto is beginning to put his foot in the water about we've got to take a long look at Kathy Bates here as the head coach. We got to do that, man. It's like, really? And the thing about Terry Pluto is he is so far behind everybody else. Except for Mary Kay Cabbagehead, who thinks that Huey Jackson is still the coach of the team. Between those two people, it's like, why would you write an article saying, I think maybe we ought to take a look at this guy? It's like,
Terry Pluto, because Terry Uranus would have been too obvious.
yeah. I mean, what can you say after every game? It's like you can't turn the ball over. You can't commit penalties and win the game. And we got to get better at this.
He's allergic to water, so he can't be Terry Neptune.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Now, Dan Labby is saying over on Cleveland.com.
Labia.
Yep.
There we go.
He's saying the season is slipping away as the poor decisions pile up. So, I guess he and Doug Les Miserables are having kind of a little tableside argument there, And Pluto's watching the two of them go at it and fapping. It's glorious, isn't it? Who does Cleveland.com say the winners and losers were in the Patriots game with the Browns?
Meanwhile, Bud Shaw is standing on the side serving snacks because he's a dog.
The loser, bye-week adjustments. The winner, the schedule. Oh, they're going to have a positive in this? The loser, Rashard Higgins. He plays for the Browns. Now listen to this. This is why Dan Labby, as far as I'm concerned, he can wait for the butt fucking right after Deathwish is done. The loser, Rashard Higgins. Let me read this to you because I didn't read this article prior to going on the air. So this is all off the top of my head, which basically Dan can suck. Rashard Higgins was sidelined after week 1 with a foot injury. He thought he was ready to return and make a difference in week 5, but he wasn't activated. A week later, he was active, but didn't get on the field. This week, he finally took his first snap since week 1. He finished with 1 catch for 2 yards. He was targeted twice. He also picked up an offensive pass interference penalty. Truly an underwhelming return for a player whose chemistry with Baker Mayfield was expected to provide a boost. Can you believe this? He's on the field for a couple. That was a horrible call. That was not offensive interference. I mean, my God, the play in the first half where the guy pushed off and caught the ball out of bounds, he pushed Denzel Ward with hands to the face right in front of the official. It was offensive interference and hands to the face, and that doesn't matter. It's the Patriots, and it doesn't matter. Rashard Higgins did not pick up an offensive pass interference penalty. That was a bogus call, along with the other ones on big plays where flags didn't show up until the play was determined, and then they threw the flag late on the field. And if you don't like it, Labby, suck my boner. God, it's just, I know, it's just, it's really annoying that they would be that, how does Rashard Higgins end up the loser in all of this? What does Baker Mayfield have to say this? How do you explain these 3 turnovers before you had a first down? Answer. Well, there were 2 fumbles and an interception.
I went to Oklahoma. I know how many 3 is.
Good for you. And he goes, I know that this state doesn't border. Forget it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, right? Brian, do you think Trump knows that the state you live in borders on Mexico?
He's been here several times. I would assume so.
All right. Why did he say that about Colorado? I'm just curious.
It's a lot of their legalization bullshit and some of the other things that are going on there.
That he thought that it bordered on Mexico because of legalization issues? You're aware that Colorado does not have a... You're aware that it doesn't border on Mexico, right? You're aware of that.
Honestly, I think he was just fucking with people. Because people like you would just go, and those on CNN would just absolutely have their heads explode. And that's all they talk about for 17 weeks. Meanwhile, he's negotiating more trade deals.
With all the penalties every week, it seems like those things could be corrected, all these mistakes. And here's what Baker said. It's just non-discipline, guys not being focused on doing their job. Get our guys lined up, make sure we're set. He goes, I got to be the best leader I can be. But if we can't use a cadence, we're hurting ourselves. Now, this is really interesting. What he's saying is, quote, anytime we try to use a double count, it seems like we're false starting.
Wow.
So we have to use a simple single cadence scheme and people jump the play. And that's how that call, where the pitch that was supposed to go to Landry went right into the hands of a guy because he jumped the snap count because our own guys obviously don't know the cadence.
Now, Joe Thomas had an interesting take. They had him on CBD at the very end of the show, and he was talking about, the guys are young on the offensive line. They're all under 30, and so especially the tackles and the guys that they just put in the game, for the Patriots game. And he's talking about how, they're so worried about all of their assignments. Who's coming in on the blitz? Who's my assignment? How are they playing me? They're getting up to the line of scrimmage and it's a deer in headlights and they forget the fucking snap count because they're worried about all the other bullshit.
Well, right now, it's no different than what I told you about Mike Pruitt and Forrest Gregg. I mean, once it's in your head, the players are defeated. They're not going to beat anybody. They're going to lose out for the rest of the season because they are demoralized, because they don't know what to do and there's nobody leading them. And then they have the video of a holding call on Joel Bitonio. Like, that was the big problem with the team, to me, what offensive lineman hasn't had a holding call called on him in his career?
New England?
Well, okay.
Yeah, they had a whopping 4 penalties yesterday.
Yeah. Well,
garbage time.
Yeah.
They only had 1 penalty in the second half, and that was that pass interference, and that was it.
Yeah.
But what I can say, is this. Oh, and I agree with Jake, and he's even sober saying this. I'm in total agreement. So that you don't get me, like I'm trying to be painted that I'm some kind of Elizabeth Warren fanatic or Joe Biden fanatic or Bernie Sanders fanatic. I would not vote for any of those 3 people, by the way, under any circumstance. That is the truth. They're all liars. They're all liars, and that includes Donald Trump. They're all liars. That includes Bill Clinton. We know that. They're all liars. The only guy I can honestly say wasn't a liar was Jimmy Carter. He told the truth, but unfortunately, he was not a strong leader, and he was an outsider in Washington, and it didn't pay off. Times were different back then. But they're all liars. That's, And you know something? A good point. Marcus Cannon, old Boom Boom Cannon, wasn't getting any calls while making Garrett his bitch. He was just making Garrett his bitch. Garrett isn't that good, folks. He's not that good.
Yeah, some guys were talking about Chase Young. They should draft Chase Young in the first round next year or something. And it's like, well, Chase Young actually plays with heart.
Yeah, I mean, look, Myles Garrett isn't jumping off sides now, but he's, he gets a meaningless single measly sack, and at
the end of the game when
the outcome's determined.
Anything.
Yeah. So I mean, he's not putting any pressure, and he's doing outside rushes and spin moves that are just easily being stopped by people. And
He ran 9 yards past Tom Brady,
and he's not being chipped either. It's single guys single-handedly handling him.
He looked a lot like Barkevius Mingo yesterday. Let's be honest with that. He looked a lot like Mingo out there. It wasn't good.
Yeah, well, I want to say something positive, but not about the Browns, because there really isn't anything positive to say about the Browns. And that's that the Cleveland Cavaliers won their home opener. And, if Beeline can get the Cavaliers to beat the Indiana Pacers, I know they don't have Victor Oladipo, I know that. But still, they had enough to be able to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the Cleveland Cavaliers came out in the in the second quarter, and just really rickrolled them, man. I mean, and it was like, holy shit. I mean, and they held on at the end. And, the Cavs are not going to win very many games this year, so the fact that I got
29 to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll be lucky to win 24 games. They'll be lucky to hit 24, and they're going to get mangled in Milwaukee tonight. But the bottom line is, if that coach with no NBA experience can get a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old, non-experienced players, and Jetty Osman, who noticed his time reduced on the floor and we looked better, thank you. That's what $31 million gets you, somebody who has to hit the floor less per game. If he can win that game in front of his home crowd, he's done more than fucking Deathwish has, who hasn't won a home game.
That's right.
This year. And so there is no excuse. You can sit there and say, we have a new system. Well, so do the Cavaliers. They got 19 and 20 and 21 and 22-year-old guys playing it. And who could forget my favorite Muppet, John Henson? John Henson plays 10 minutes of the game, and he just ripped his hamstring. That guy, you know what he looks like? He's so gangly, he looks like Howdy Doody. Hey, Buffalo Bob. I mean, the guy was born to be hurt. Oh, God, there go my hamstring.
I can't feel my leg.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine if Henson were Joe Theismann?
Hey!
Precisely.
God almighty. It's like, this has to stop. The Cavaliers at least won one game, and I watched it. And, and what was nice was Brad Daugherty got to see it. Joe Tate got to see it, The people they were honoring got to see it. Unfortunately, Zydrunas Ilgauskas couldn't make it, but he'll be there later this year. And, it was nice seeing that. And what I didn't understand, they were honoring Austin Carr out there and Bobby Bingo Smith. I'm sorry. But how come Campy wasn't out there? I guess he doesn't have his name up in the rafters, right? He doesn't have. I guess you have to have the banner in the rafters. I love Campy Russell. He's a great guy. I would like to have seen him on the floor too, because he sure put his time in. But with the Miracle of Richfield Cavaliers, he was a really good basketball player, and I can also say he's a really nice man, and I say that seriously. There's nothing facetious about that. He's a really nice guy. I would like to have seen him on the floor too, and and it was a shame that Dan Gilbert couldn't have been there to see this, because that would have picked his spirits up. Because again, a win's a win, and the Pacers came out in that second quarter, and they came out in the third quarter, and they just didn't. it looked like they were just kind of thwarted. It's a lot like the Golden State Warriors, who look thwarted. I mean, it's hard to believe, but fortunes change so fast. And, and they're all glum because they've lost 2 in a row and not close games, So the Warriors are like, holy shit, we suck now. And that's what happens. It seeps in very quickly. And you have to understand, the reason you have to get rid of people like Deathwish is because this whole roster is being contaminated. And
absolutely. It's like
when Rashard Higgins doesn't get to play, and now Jannard Avery's been traded, and Greg Robinson gets benched, and it's a bad vibe, and it's like contamination. It really is. And something's got to be done about it, because it's going to continue to damage the organization. And you see how fragile the confidence level is, and suddenly you're not getting the calls in Golden State because the league's moved on.
Yeah.
Hi-oh, Silver, away! He's on to whatever's next he can hype, So, yeah, it's really, but congratulations to the Cavaliers, and I won't make fun of them tonight when they lose, because the fact is, at least they're trying, and they played good enough defense on the second game in a row, to hold somebody under triple digits. So, and that's a weak spot of the team. They have 2 small guards, but they're at least putting out an effort, listening to what their coach says, because their coach is at least saying something. And they did get the ball in Kevin Love's hands, and he rewarded them with points, assists, and rebounds, man. And for all the talk about, we got to get the ball into OBJ's hands, or, we got to do this, or we got to do that, the truth is, even Beeline found a way to get the ball into Kevin Love's hands. And Kevin Love ain't OBJ when it comes to being a speedster and being able to get open on his own. So, there you have it. I'm done. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend, and I'll be checking in on the Cavaliers tonight, and I'll be thinking of each and every one of you as I snuggle up in bed tonight, and I'll say, maybe one of these days, Browns fans will have something to really be happy about for any, who is Flacco's backup in Denver? We just said his name. I don't know what the fuck his name is.
Brandon Allen, I believe.
Yeah.
Barry Allen.
Steve
We're going to
Allen.
play against the Flash.
Yeah, Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen.
Yep.
I was close.
And then Mark Rippon's son, Brett Rippon, will be signed and elevated to the roster, maybe from the practice squad, or Drew Lock, who is a bust in the preseason and wasn't ready to play. So that's your story there. Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again on Friday to talk more sports. Until then, hey, keep telling everybody about the show. You're getting more people subscribing, more people are watching. It's all good, but I would really like to make a little bit more of an impact, because what I'll say, the last thing I'll say is, if you wanted to know about Freddie Kitchens, you could have gone back in the hot tub time machine 3 weeks ago and caught it all here first, because I told you what was going on. And I'm not inside there to know. I'm not inside Berea. I got 2 eyes, and I'm a business guy, and I know when fortunes are changing for the better or for the worse. So if you want a heads up, you can wait for the mailbag at cleveland.com, or you can just check the show out. And if I'm not your cup of tea, that's fine, But at least give it a try. You might find that you find something useful that you can take with you through the day, and then put your finger down your throat and puke it out. All right, everybody, thanks a lot. I'll see you again Friday. Hasta la vista, faster heads. Good night.